Olivia Clark easily won the top spot in Portland City Council District 4 in the city's first ranked choice election. Come January, the retired policy director for TriMet will be one of 3 city councilors in that district, which encompasses Portland's west side, including downtown and Old Town, and then crosses the Willamette River into the Eastmoreland and Sellwood neighborhoods. A former legislative director for then-Governor John Kitzhaber, Clark also co-founded CASA, the Community and Shelter Assistance Program, which helps farm workers in marginalized communities. Olivia Clark, congratulations and welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken. Great to be here.
Well, District 4 has some of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Portland, but it also has some of the biggest problems, especially with homelessness and drug use downtown. How do you represent this diverse district with all of these diverse issues?
How do I represent them?
Yeah.
I be available to all of them. I meet with them. I meet with the neighborhood association, the organizations that represent the downtown. I need to be available and to listen to what they need and be responsive to what they need.
What are your priorities going in?
Some of my stated priorities during the campaign were really in the area of public safety, broadly writ. Public safety means not just more police on the streets, but it really means making sure that the response time is improved. That if you dial 911, somebody actually answers the phone and somebody gets there within a reasonable amount of time. The homeless issue is a part of public safety. It's not safe for people to be living on the streets, and it's not good for the rest of us either. And housing development, we need more affordable housing. We need to streamline our permitting process. I know the current city council has worked on that, but it's up to us to implement that. And there are other issues that we can deal with in making more affordable housing available.
Should we expand Portland Street Response?
First of all, I think we need to evaluate Portland Street Response. How well is it working? How much does it cost? Is it effective? And I wouldn't come right out and say it needs to be 24/7. I think, first of all, we need to evaluate them and allow them to transport people. You know, at this point, Ken, they don't transport people in need.
You've got experience through CASA with developing affordable housing. Are you satisfied with the progress of the Safe Rest Village sites, or task sites as they called? And what do we need to do to get on track to solve this problem?
Well, yes, I'm very satisfied with the task sites. I think they're very successful. They're proven to be successful, and we need to expand those. I think it's up to us to work with the incoming mayor on his plan to address homelessness as well and expand the continuum of options that are available for people who are living on the street.
What do you think about the election of Keith Wilson as mayor? Was that something that you anticipated?
No, well, not out of the chute. I didn't anticipate that. I think you had your front runners, and over time, you saw what happened to them, and Keith came in and filled that gap. It's pretty remarkable.
What do you think about his homeless plan, and how would that integrate with what you want to do?
Frankly, I'm not familiar with the details of his plan. I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow to talk through that, to exchange information about our priorities. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that from him.
What do you think about the current structure, the structure that we're going to, that you'll be going into with Portland City Council? It's a lot different than the commission style system that we have currently. Exactly.
It's going to be a huge culture change. Huge for all the 7,500 city employees, huge for the entire city. I think it's going to be a challenge initially. I think it's important that right out of the gate, the 12 people who are elected work to functioning government to show the people of Portland that we can work together, we can get things done. It's going to be an interesting experiment.
You will be representing District 4, which includes downtown Portland. And we started off this interview talking about some of the issues. One of the other big issues that's happening in downtown Portland, we've got an incredibly high office vacancy rate down there. Workers are not coming back downtown, and some of the businesses that are landmark businesses like U.S. Bank and the U.S. Bancorp Tower.
Or Portland Clinic.
And Portland Clinic. This just happened recently. What do you see as a solution there? What can we do about that in terms of repurposing that space or making it more viable?
Well, I think we need to bring more people downtown. We need to have more housing downtown. We need to look at options for activating the storefronts that are empty downtown. But I'll be looking to the property owners, the the Chamber of Commerce and others for ideas around how we activate, but we've got to bring more people downtown.
New City Council will make the decision on whether or not to continue the city's contract with the Joint Office of Homeless Services, which is run by Multnomah County. What's your position on the city's relationship with Multnomah County and what needs to improve, especially in that agency?
Well, you know, Ken, on the doorstep, I heard a lot about the friction between the city and county, and people asking me, what can you do? Why can't we just get along? I think it's important that right now that we stay in the joint office, that we actually ask them for more metrics, for more results, for more accountability, and especially with the folks that they're contracting with. But the jury's out. I think we should stay there at this point.
But still have the relationship be examined by the new council.
Exactly.
Yes. You said the city needs to, quote, revisit the Climate Emergency Action Plan that allocates Portland Clean Energy Fund money to mitigate climate change. What do you think needs to be done to revisit that? What are your concerns about that?
Well, I just think that the new council, the 12 people that are now assuming the office, need to brush that off, take a look at it, go through all the recommendations, and see how they feel about those things, how they would prioritize those things. One of the other things I've said on the campaign trail is that I want to make sure that all the city bureaus, particularly the infrastructure bureaus, are ready for climate change, that they're prepared, that there's resiliency, redundancy. So, for example, if the water gets cut off to my building, I want to know the water department the water bureau has a plan for how to restore that, because there are huge climate changes coming through. We've already experienced them, the sky rivers, the forest fires. I just want to know the city's ready.
How excited are you to enter into this new chapter in your life?
I think it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working with the other 11 people on solving the issues that confront Portland, knowing that the city can actually execute on the promises that we've made to the people.
Can Portland come back?
Absolutely. We're already coming back, Ken.
All right. Thank you very much, Olivia Clark. Congratulations again, and thanks for being on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you.